Next, we'll have Dr. Don Ingber. Don is a Judah Folkman Professor at Harvard and the founding director of the Wyss Institute for Biologically Inspired Engineering at Harvard.
Thank you. So I'm going to give you a case study in more of a bottom-up type of initiative, and I think we're going to deal with issues more from this morning before I get to faculty, because you can't deal with faculty unless you deal with organization issues and governance. So we like to say that we'd like to think that we've developed a new model for innovation, collaboration, and technology translation. And I think hopefully you'll see what I mean, and you'll be the judge of that. This started about 7, 8 years ago. I was asked by Steve Hyman, then provost at Harvard, to co-chair a committee with Dave Mooney to envision the future of bioengineering across all of Harvard and its hospitals. Make a long story short, we reached out to faculty everywhere in the university, outside the whole Boston, Cambridge region, and we came down to the following observation, which is that bioengineering has absolutely transformed medicine over the last 50 years, stents, hip implants, pacemakers, drug delivery, by taking engineering principles trying to solve medical problems. But we looked around and we saw that the whole paradigm has shifted. The boundaries between disciplines is breaking down. We're all collaborating, as you guys are saying, and some of us have been doing it for 30 years, but individually. And that, in fact, we've uncovered enough, a huge amount about how nature builds from the nanoscale up, as well as controlling and manufacturing. And so we actually said that the future is going to be one where, rather than taking engineering and pushing it to solve a problem, that we're going to actually leverage biological design principles to develop new engineering innovations. And that was how we came up with biologically inspired engineering. So the committee came up with the concept of a institute that would transform healthcare, industry, and the environment by emulating the way nature builds. Now, we didn't just focus on healthcare, because some of us had been involved in biology having impact on non-medical areas and gotten into things like manufacturing or aerospace and found out that those guys have things that we could use. So we wanted to make sure this was broad because we thought there'd be synergy. And the idea was that there'd be 2 major goals: to continue to uncover nature's design principles, but most importantly, we're going to focus on engineering biologically inspired materials and devices to revolutionize healthcare and enhance sustainability. And we're very lucky that early on we were introduced to a potential philanthropist, Hans-Jörg Wyss, a Swiss-German, so it's Wyss, not Wyss. And he was a successful CEO, entrepreneur, and he said he brought his own creativity to this, and this is something we're going to come to later when people talk about fundraising. And he said, I know big companies, I'm the CEO, they're great at product development, but they cannot innovate. I can't make my own people take a risk. He said, I know you guys, you don't get grants unless you've already done it, so you can't do high-risk research. And if you innovate, you basically publish papers. Nothing ever happens. So he said, I want to see a startup in the midst of the world's greatest academic environment that's going to do high-risk work and have near-term impact. So to make a long story short, we were launched in January 2009 with the single largest gift in Harvard's history of $125 million. Harvard had to contribute. He would only give it if Harvard had skin in the game, as he said, so they had to contribute on a similar scale as well. So it's about $200 million in total. Focus on high-risk research, technology development, span academia and industry. We started by co-locating 14 faculty at a common site because of the reasons you heard earlier. We've grown to 375 full-time staff in 4 years, now 4.5 years. We have about 750 collaborating participants because any faculty member, anyone in their lab, even if they're at different sites, can come and access the facility. And we don't give faculty space. We organize by project, and we call them collaboratories, where people from many groups come together. Most uniquely, we've recruited 40 expert technical staff from industry, some with 20, 25 years in product development team management. They're not managers, they're in the trenches, and they self-organize product development teams. And then we structured to harness the whole Boston-Cambridge region in that we're not in any school at Harvard, and we have a formal alliance, a single partnership agreement signed by all of the Harvard hospitals, which those of you who know them are separate competing institutions that are not easily negotiated with, as well as UMass, Worcester Medical School, Boston University, Tufts, and we're continually joining others. We actually have our first international one we'll be announcing this week. This agreement allows their faculty and staff to be on site, or part of their groups to be on site, to write grants to the Institute. The overhead goes to the Institute. The IP is owned by the Institute. But there's already a royalty distribution agreement in place. That means that we can have one collaboration agreement with a big company that we negotiate, and everything can be done together and bring people on site. That has been a huge plus to industry. And I'll show you a little bit more of what's going on, but based on our success, we doubled the gift this May. So we raised $400 million in gift and $130 million in grants in that time. We only got lab space after the first year. So now we actually had to start with very specific measures of success. We have the usual academic ones: international recognition for scientific leadership, recruitment of world-class faculty, students, and fellows. But we also are being judged on the IP portfolio we generate, corporate alliances, licensing agreements, and new startups, and having technologies in the product pipeline in 5 years. And as you can see, we did this, so that's how we got a second gift. Now, we started by pulling together what I call some of the most brilliant, creative, entrepreneurial, convergent, and quirky faculty that we could think of. These include people like Joanna Eisenberg in material science, and Jim Collins is in the back at BU, and George Whitesides, and George Church, and Dave Mooney, and some younger people in theory like Maha and Dave Edwards, who's done many startups as well as major engineering. So we started with 14, and then we've recruited 4 others, of which some just joined within the last year. So what you're going to see is basically the output of effectively 14 to 16 faculty. Plus, we also have associate faculty that we put in. Now, I feel like we're doing multidisciplinary. Now, it's transdisciplinary. I should change my slide. And I should say transdisciplinary, vision-inspired basic research and technology development. And just to give you an idea, these are fields that are on the bios of our faculty, from synthetic biology and physiology and surgery and animal and insect communities and entrepreneurship and art science interface and et cetera, everything you could think of. But what's truly unique is that these 40 people from industry, this is their industrial experience. These are people that worked at Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, IBM, Intel, Ben Hogan Golf Club company, Tattoo companies, you name it. They worked at robotics companies. And these guys are sitting in common rooms, and when they need a material to do something they can't find, someone else has used it, and the faculty interact with these guys in the same way. This has created transdisciplinary research at a level that I've never seen before. So this is kind of the model. We basically have these, what we think are the thought leaders in the field, people who have individually done convergent work for years, but never been institutionalized. And I would say they did it in spite of the system. We all do it in spite of the system. That's what the thing is about. We have this advanced technology team, which are the people that we recruit from industry. And I'll say the first thing that inspired me to do this was institutional memory. How many of you have had a postdoc or grad student who had a major paper, submitted a patent, got a great job, and the project ended? It dies. So their task was keeping institutional memory, that things keep going on. I hired a management team of two people that have both PhDs and MBAs, but they've effectively only been in the startup world, and some have been CEOs, CFOs, international business development. And so they know how to build a startup. So we built this as a startup, not as an academic company and an institution. And that's why, even though it's part of Harvard, and that's why it's worked. And then finally, we bring in industry clinicians and regulatory agencies early on. I speak to the FDA every month. In fact, sometimes more than once a month at this point, based on interactions. And we have every type of industry coming in. They know the problems out there. You talk about identifying problems and coming up with big big challenge. Well, they know the real problems, and they know the competition, and it really helps to focus. And finally, and I think this may shock you the most, is we don't give out grants. Okay, we put all our funding, because I had to get this to work fast. And if we did grants, we'd be reviewing each other's grants and just getting angry, because we only had 14 people and wasting time, because we probably end up getting the grant. So we basically developed 6 enabling technology platforms that are basically groups of people, because everything is people. So it's faculty, staff, students, fellows, clinicians, collaborators, trying to develop cutting-edge technological capabilities, not one thing, but a whole new area that will enable a new wave of bio-inspired materials and devices. George Church said these should be cores that generate other cores, and this has actually happened with things like his MAGE, his multiplex automated genome engineering. And, oops, there's a little problem here, but so the platforms range, and now you'll see that. So we have anticipatory medical and cellular devices, Jim Collins actually had, which is complex adaptive systems and nonlinear dynamics applied to autonomous home healthcare, where things like understanding the nonlinearities of physiological biorhythms and developing diagnostic and autonomous therapeutic devices based on that. Synthetic biology, you know, programmable nanomaterials, you know. I had a platform called Biomimetic Microsystems. These are organs on chips as replacement for animal testing. Adaptive materials was developed for responsive building materials. We have the Harvard Graduate School of Design involved in this. But many of the materials that were developed for buildings and airplanes and energy are now moving into medicine. And then finally, bio-inspired robotics. But we're dealing with sort of robot swarms and, again, complex adaptive systems. I won't go into this, but just, again, to give you examples. So Joanna Eisenberg developed SLIPS. It's a non-adhesive surface inspired by the pitcher plant, a plant that has a surface coating that's slippery and insects fall in and it digests them like being a fly trap. She did that to prevent ice from sticking to airplane wings and crude oil from sticking. It works beautifully. We just have a startup that just started in that for non-medical this summer. But that is now being used for medical devices, and actually we have FDA-approved AV shunts in pigs for 8 hours treated with this without any anticoagulants, and they're staying patent. Organs on chips is, you probably have heard about in terms of putting human cells on these chips to replace animal testing, and that's been tremendous. But that technology then fed back to the platform on buildings, and we developed coatings for glass that have microfluidics that basically have a circulatory system to increase efficiency of heat transfer, so you don't have to heat your building or cool it as much. There are artificial insect cuticles. There's manufacturing techniques that came out of robotics that can be used for everything from medical devices. So it's not top-down. It's not preconceived. It's creativity and vision-driven research. It's harnessing the skunk works of academia, but having problems so that it can just give some focus, but then not shutting things down like a company, letting them to pursue all these ideas. So this is just to show you measures of success, what this sort of structure has done. We've integrated Harvard now with 10 partner institutions. We've organized around 14 core faculty, had 4 new hires, 11 associate. And it's important to say, and maybe Cherry can comment on this later on, is that this has been a huge attractor for recruitment, so that Cherry and I could work together and we can bring in people by offering joint packages, and I'll describe how it works with faculty in a second, that wouldn't get them otherwise. And this is not only with Harvard, but with Boston University and others. We've renovated 100,000 square feet of space, and which we have 85,000 in the middle of the medical area next to Merck, Harvard Med School, all the hospitals. And the other part is on Oxford Street in Cambridge next to all of the Harvard basic science and engineering campus, and so people go back and forth. So we use physicality not to pull everyone away, but also to link. You've heard about the people we hired. We've secured $130 million in funding. I will say that most of it's DARPA for the reasons that you can understand in terms of high-risk convergent research, but also RPE, DOD, NIH, but NIH is minor, not major. We have 573 publications from these 14 to 16 faculty. We've had 1 Science or Nature paper every month for the last 4.5 years. Now, you could say, well, we're focused on translation, but that's fundamental breakthroughs here as well. 434 patents, 19 issued patents, 34 product development collaborations with industry. We have 16 licensed closed or late stage, 1 product's being sold. We have 5 startups, 9 in active discussion, 47 IRB approved human studies, 20 animal studies, and we just started 2 human clinical trials ourselves with our partner institutions like Dana-Farber. I talked on the phone and we said that the key to this is governance. You cannot do this without, and that's where we started in this, so I can talk offline about that. But so the executive leadership team, I am not only the director, I'm a core faculty member. I'm in the trenches. I'm a platform leader. I know how this works, and that's the only way to get respect from scientists is to be in there and get punched along with them. The administrative team I described, we have a board of directors, and I should say that we started as like a part of Harvard, not in any school, but we are now a 501c3 inside Harvard. We're owned by Harvard, but we're a 501c3 with a board of directors. Now, we have the provost chairing it. We have the deans of engineering, medicine, faculty of arts, sciences, and business represented, the executive VP. We also have CEO of the hospitals that are separate institutions. We have the Boston University Dean of Engineering. We have another spot for another school's representative. And then we have the donor himself and 2 of his selected representatives, one of whom is a clinician and one is not. The operating committee is faculty, all the leaders of the platforms and myself. We make all the resource allocation decisions. And then the platforms are not only led by faculty, there's a partnership with these senior people from industry, and actually The faculty love this. They don't have to do all the budgets. They don't have to worry about all the things going on, and there's a mutual respect, and that actually makes things work. So the last slide is the keys I found to faculty success is all our faculty hold academic appointments in their home departments and institutions, like Carla was saying. This is like an MD, PhD. You have to meet all the requirements of the MD, medical school, and the graduate school before you get in. So faculty must meet teaching, clinical care, other expectations of both home institutions and the institute. So it's a high hurdle. People have to really want to do this. We have 7 endowed chairs that are term chairs, which means that if the faculty are recruited and they don't keep with our vision, we can say your appointment ends. We have 3-year appointments. And then the department has to have committed to take them on back to their home department. That's never happened, but that makes sure we don't just keep using our funding and watching it this way. And we have salaries for 6 junior staff, which means we can help these home departments build their teaching, build their communities. So it's a win-win for all. We do the co-recruitments with the deans and chairs, and we can add our recruitment packages together. It's a major attractor. The faculty sit on departmental promotion committees and mentoring committees, even if they're not in that department. The institute faculty are represented. That's critical for the things you said. And I actually can sit on the ad hoc committee at Harvard when they come up for tenure. It's a big deal. Most important thing, I think, is that virtually all faculty maintain their original laboratories in the home academic department, because I know that all of you guys know that we are egocentric, crazy, narcissistic maniacs in science if you're successful, and you have to be, and you create your own culture, and you want to do that, and we don't want to destroy that. People are not going to give that up, and so they have that, but if they want to participate in this, they have to move a portion of their group to the institute with the explicit focus on collaborative research and technology development. They don't get space, the project gets space. And this permits the member to maintain their own culture, but benefit from this unique transdisciplinary culture. And I told you they don't get space. And then the industrial staff are treated with respect and permitted to help the lead faculty efforts, students and fellows as projects move translations. This enables faculty to have access to these resources that can pursue commercialization of the efforts without conflict of interest or attention. Most faculty want to see their work have impact, but they don't want to deal with business people and manufacturing and scaling up. This allows them to have it, be part of it, but not have to worry about it if they trust the people you hire. And this is then facilitated by the leadership who have business experience, and then we built our own legal team and business development team, and we work with Harvard's business development so that basically things are merged by self-organization. If we give each of the core faculty only get enough dollars, it's a small amount for like 1 or 2 students or fellows to do whatever they want with that, and they could bank it if they need it. If projects emerge that excite the faculty member and people with industrial experience, and then the business development, and there's good IP, then we put central dollars to advance it further. And so this is all a process of self-assembly based on how people really work in labs. So to end, this is our website. You can learn more. We actually won the Webby last year, which is the Academy Award of the Internet for all of science. We're very proud. We beat out NASA Space Propulsion Lab and Wired magazine. And I think communication is absolutely critical as well. And so and art and science and social science. And we have artists as visiting scholars. We have venture capitalists as visiting scholars. We basically feel that to do convergence type of research, you just have to be open-minded and bring people into the community. So I'll end there.